What is up, you guys? This is Mini Superheroes Today.
Hey guys, in this video, we'll be comparing the original 2008 and 2009 Indiana Jones LEGO minifigures with the new 2023 LEGO minifigs. Now, I want to say thanks to LEGO for sending me the new ones early to do this video with, and all thoughts, of course, are my own here. Now, LEGO Indiana Jones is my favorite theme of all time, so you know, I'm a little bit biased in the fact that I love these minifigs so much, but I'm not so biased to say whether the old ones are better than the new ones or vice versa. So let's take a look at them side by side and go through it. Now, you may notice that there are a few minifigs missing, such as Sala and the Mummy, as well as Jock from the original lineup. And in this video, I'm only going to be comparing the figs one-to-one, right? Like, so all of the indies compared to the old ones, Satipo compared to the old ones, so on and so forth. I just don't really know that it's fair to compare these minifigs to the other ones that came in these sets when, you know, some of them made it and some of them didn't. So we're only going to cover the figures that were remade, and with that being said, let's get into it. So our first minifig to point out is Indiana Jones himself, and I also thought it'd be cool to talk about the idols. So the idols are very, very similar, but they are slightly different cast molds. The original is a little bit more of a dark gold color, and the new one is a very shimmery gold color. On top of that, there's a different number written on the insides of them, so they are made from different molds, but I think they did a really good job of getting the new one to look so much like the old one. Honestly, it is pretty hard to tell on camera, but in person you can see that they are slightly different shades, and there are some very slight differences between the two. As far as the Indy minifig itself, there are some major differences between the two. The new one has the hair molded into the hat. In fact, we could go ahead and take that off right here to show you that. And that's a big, big change, so that Indy has hair, whereas the other one, if you removed his hat, he's pretty much just bald. The other thing is, the original Indy sets pretty much had the exact same minifig in every single set, with the exception of some of the later sets where he had a little smirk, but the rest is the same as far as the belt and torso are concerned. Now, that being said, there is something super nostalgic about the original, but the new one does look pretty good too. If you look at his mouth, he's got a little dot where Harrison has one on his face, so it really, really does look pretty good. Both, of course, have the satchel. The leg printing on the new one is much more detailed. You know, there's even like a little button on his holster, whereas that's missing on the original one. And, you know, there's just some slight differences. The new one, I really like the holes in the belt loop, too. I think that those look really good. Then if we flip the torso around, you can see the new one has back printing, whereas the original does not. And the new one also has head printing on the back for the figure. So this one is the one from the Raiders of the Lost Ark Golden Idol Temple. And, of course, we've got the spider and the web on there, but we also get several different versions of Indy. In fact, every set in the new wave has a new version of Indy. So this is the one from the Escape from the Lost Tomb from Raiders of the Lost Ark. He's got the adventurer-colored gloves. Of course, they all come with the whip and everything. And he's got a Harrison Ford smirk on this side with an open mouth. And we can flip that around, and you can see that he's kind of got a confused, puzzled look on the other side. And finally, we have Last Crusade Indy, who has the exact same face as the previous Indy we looked at, you know, with the reversible two-sided head, but he does have an exclusive torso that has the necktie that he wears in The Last Crusade. And a lot of you guys have been asking, so here we go. Here is what the old Indiana Jones looks like with the new hat. It looks pretty good, but I will say, I think that the old one just looks better with the old hat. I don't really know how to explain it. Maybe it's just the nostalgia in me speaking, but it looks good, but nothing beats the classic to me. Going in the order that they appeared in the movies, next we have Satipo, and this is a really nice minifig because I think he got upgraded pretty well. The original had a lot more focus on the dark printing, if you look at like the buttons on his jacket, the pockets, whereas on the new one, they're kind of like a muted tan or beige color. I really like that they gave him the sweaty undershirt on both. That just helps add a lot of context in the set, and of course it's accurate to the movie. The new one has a belt printed along the bottom of the torso, and the head is such a massive upgrade. The original just kind of used a generic head, whereas the new one really looks like that young Alfred Molina. Now, the old one used the classic Harry Potter style hair, whereas the new one has the bowl cut, which I've been told has been in lots of sets. I said it was new in the video, but I don't know, for some reason it looked new to me, but hey, I'll take the L on that one. The new one has the tarantulas printed on the back, which is a very cool touch, and the old one does not have any back printing, and the new one also has a reversible head to go with the tarantulas on the back, whereas the old one does not have a reversible head at all. Next up, we have Belloq, who I think is a massive upgrade on the new one. They both have the same safari-style hat, but the old one has kind of a weird head underneath. I'll lift up the hat so you can see what the faces look like. When I was a kid, I actually thought that this head looked like a woman. You know, it just kind of is what it is, but the new one definitely looks like Belloq, so that's definitely a nice upgrade. And of course, I think that the color on the new one is much more accurate to what we see in the movie versus the old one is kind of like this very dark khaki color. The new one also has printing on the back that shows he's kind of sweating in the jungle, and the old one is pretty basic, but they're still both great minifigs, and the new one is the better of the two, though. There's a huge upgrade between the Marion minifigs. Of course, she's wearing her white dress from being inside the Well of the Souls, and the dress looks pretty good in both instances. I think the new one matches with the more recent LEGO designs, and of course, she's got those dual molded legs, which are always going to win out, you know? That gives you the tan feet on the bottom since she doesn't have shoes on, and the ripped dress from when they use it to make the torches, so that looks really, really good. If we flip it around, you can see that the new one also has back printing, whereas the original does not, but they both have reversible heads, which is cool, and I love that they've got the scared expressions on both sides. We also have to talk about the face, because the original has those piercing blue eyes, and the new one has the black eyes. I think that the black eyes look a lot better. It's pretty rare for LEGO figures to have colored eyes at all, so the original Marion having colored eyes is pretty random, so the new one is definitely the better of the two. Even if I do love the original, it's hard for me to say I don't like them, but the new one is definitely better. Ever since 2008, it's definitely been kind of an eyebrow raiser that LEGO has made German soldiers as minifigs, because if you watch the movies, you know exactly who these guys are. But regardless, we got a new one in the new wave, and this is the original. Now, this one is from 2009 that has the helmet with the goggles on, but he also appeared in 2008. And the reason I have this one is because it's the one that most closely correlates with the fighter plane chase one that just came out. I think the old one is the better minifig, even if the new one is probably more accurate for what the pilot would have been wearing in the movie. I just really like these old torsos for army building back in the day, and both of them kind of have generic heads, so they've got that in common. But still, it's a good minifig, even if it's a little historically odd to be made as a LEGO minifig. And our final minifig to compare is Henry Jones Sr. Now, they have a very similar hat, but the old one seems to be a slightly different mold, if I'm not mistaken, but it's certainly a darker color of gray. It doesn't really pop out on camera, but if you saw him here with me in person, you could tell that this one is a slightly darker gray. Removing the hat so you could see the full face, I honestly think I like the old face better. You know, the more I look at these side by side, I've spent a couple days with them now, I think the old face really, really looked good, but the new one is good as well. It's just the old one has so much more detail. You've got coloring up near the temples, and that's really, really good. As far as the torsos go, I could go either way. You know, I always liked that the Grail Diary was printed on the torso, but now we get a Grail Diary accessory for him to hold, which is honestly pretty cool as well. The old one has a lot more black shading on it, whereas the new one is definitely a lot more modernized, but either way, both of these torsos would work great for Jack Black's character from Jumanji, don't you agree? We've also got a little bit of back printing, and all in all, they're both solid minifigs, so I'd call this a toss-up for which one is better. I think the old one really, really has aged well, and after 15 years, it's hard to say that for a lot of minifigs from back at that era. And while it's technically not a minifig, since we looked at the Idol artifact earlier, we might as well look at the Ark of the Covenant artifact. This one is an easy win for the original, because in the movie, you know, the poles are retractable. Sala and Indy, you know, put them on there themselves. In the new one, the poles are built into it, and I don't know, when you see them side by side, you see the 2x4 with stickers on both sides, as well as the original being all brick built. It's just so obvious that the original is far superior. Well, guys, there's a lot of nostalgia that surrounds these minifigs, so it's very, very difficult to come out and say which set is better than the other. I love both sets for what they are, but there is something so nostalgic about those old sets and minifigs that I just can't help but love them. So let me know if you like the new minifigs more than the old ones, or if you're sticking with the originals and just enjoying the new ones for what they are. Be sure to hit like and subscribe down below so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Well, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and maybe check out one of my other videos listed here.